healthy romantic relationships. Emotional intelligence has been big in my personal journey, right? From realizing that being an attorney is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, trying to figure out what I do want to do, figuring out who I can help and who I can serve. Emotional intelligence has been a big part of that for me. And so I tried to run from it for a long time. Like, right, I'm an attorney. Who's going to listen to me? I'm not married. Who wants to listen to me?
You what?
What I had to realize is that I do have a gift, right? I have a certain skill set that allows me to be a safe space for people, to ask the difficult questions, ask the right questions. And so what I've been able to do is using my background as an attorney, right? My conflict resolution skills, my training in emotional intelligence, and just things I've learned from my own personal journey. And so putting all of those things together, it allows me to help people improve their communication, help them resolve conflict, and build their connection with, or increase their connection with their partner by using emotional intelligence.
Yeah, So how did you even know that? How did you know people were doing it? Or did you know? Because, I didn't, because I was basically, I used to just post up videos. And, I was just basically living my life, traveling, just hanging with my friends. And I just started getting a lot of different questions. And it started, first the questions were about traveling. And then it kind of started to shift after a while and went on to relationships. And then over time, probably like a year or two, 80% of the questions were involved in relationships. And that's when I figured out, I said, oh, okay, people, they just want to hear what I have to say, I guess. So I guess I'll just keep doing it until they're not asked no more. So what was your experience?
So I think for me, when I was trying to figure out who I wanted to help, I think I've always had a passion or a sore spot for like relationship stuff, right? Relationships have a big impact on our quality of life.
Oh yeah.
And right, we weren't meant to be alone. Everybody desires that connection. But what I've learned is that people are in unhealthy relationships, and a lot of times they know it. And so I got fascinated with that why. Like, why are you still here knowing that this is no longer healthy for you, knowing that this is not serving you? And the deeper I dug, the deeper I realized that it starts at an individual level. And so people don't have a good understanding of themselves, right? Their lack of self-awareness, their past history, their traumas, their upbringing, all of that plays a part into who you are today. And so once I started to ask, like, well, why are you still with this person? Even though right, this is no longer healthy for you, this is no longer serving you. And I just kept digging, and I realized that I could combine all of my skill sets and help people in this area of life. Like, usually you hear about emotional intelligence in the workplace, and that's how I learned it and how I practiced it and improved my skills. But our romantic relationships, like I said, have a bigger impact on our quality of life. People will leave a job that is no longer serving them, but they're not as quick to leave a romantic relationship that's no longer serving them.
Yeah, that's true. Why do you think that is? People are, why do you think they aren't willing to leave a relationship versus, they'll leave the job with the quickness?
So I think it comes down to, everything's going to be different for everybody, of course, but there is something in that person that is filling you up, right? There is just one thing, or maybe a couple of things that the person is usually holding on to, that keeps them there, right? And so they ignore, or they turn a blind eye to the other things that are making the relationship unhealthy for them, for the sake of those one or two things that they do desire about this person. I think another reason is that people don't like to be alone, and they're afraid to be alone. And so some people would rather have an unhealthy person next to them as opposed to go to sleep by themselves, right? And that comes down to just not having a good sense of self, or not loving yourself enough that you are willing to settle for, pretty much whomever. So it's a couple of reasons as to why people stay in relationships, or just hoping that things will change, things will go back to the way that they were, if they were ever that way. But just a lot of how do I explain it? Things that aren't necessarily true, right? You hope that they'll change. Yeah. You hope that they'll grow, or there's one or two things that they feel, but you're ignoring everything else?
Yeah, my uncle told me hope was a joke.
Right.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself. Because I mean, I've had a relationship where I'm sitting there thinking, I know I shouldn't be here with this person, and I know it's not going to end well, but I didn't have the courage to leave at the time until something had to happen before I was like, okay, it's time to go now.
And that's not uncommon. But I think people have to work on making themselves a priority. Right? It's like, oh, well, I don't want to hurt them, or I'm staying for the kids. And it's like, but what about you? Right? You give consideration to everybody else, but you. Yeah. And that's not okay.
Yeah. So how did you have the confidence to know that, hey, I can help other people with their relationships? Because it's one thing for you to have your experiences and living your life, but how did you know you can help other people?
How did I know I could help other people? I think it goes back to combining, right, the skills